All right, so we're diving into the world of Mickey 17. We're going to be talking about Bong Joon-ho's latest sci-fi film before you go see it. And for this deep dive, we've got a Wikipedia article and also the official trailer, which is up on YouTube on the Warner Bros. Channel. Should be fun.
Yeah, it's always a blast to go into a movie with a little bit of info first. And in this case, we have, this film is based on a book, Mickey 7, by Edward Ashton, but with some changes made by the director, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say the Wikipedia article even says that that Bong Joon-ho made the main character, Mickey, simpler in the film. Kind of makes you wonder how that changes things from the book.
Right. I mean, I guess he might have wanted to, like, streamline the story a bit, to focus on certain themes, or maybe it was a way to explore the idea of identity, but through a less complex protagonist.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay, so the basic premise here is that humanity is, trying to colonize new planets. And to do that, they're using expendables for the super risky jobs, the dangerous ones. These workers are basically clones, and every time one dies, their memories get transferred to a new body. I mean, it's like they get to live on, but
then it makes you think, right, what does it even mean to live on when you're constantly dying, and then getting replaced by, like, a copy of yourself? It brings up some huge questions about, like, the value of life and the ethics of all this cloning stuff and what makes a person, that sort of thing.
Totally. So Wikipedia tells us the story follows this guy, Mickey Barnes. He becomes an expendable and gets sent on a mission to colonize this icy planet called Niflheim. And of course, he dies a lot, repeatedly, actually. And each time, a new Mickey is created with all of his memories.
Right. And this whole cycle gets interrupted when Mickey 17 falls into a fissure. Everyone thinks he's dead, but get this, he gets rescued by the planet's life forms, these things called creepers.
Hold on, creepers? What are those?
Well, they're kind of like caterpillar-like creatures. Yeah, the Wikipedia article says that. It says they're like caterpillars. They're the dominant species on this Niflheim planet, and they end up playing a pretty big role in the story.
Okay, so we've got Mickey 17 coming back, but there's already a new clone, Mickey 18, just waiting there. And the leader of the mission is not happy about having two Mickeys around.
Yeah, that's going to cause some serious conflict, especially since these creepers aren't just some, dumb animals. They're sentient beings with their own agendas.
Sounds like we've got clones, aliens, and a leader with some questionable morals. So where does all of this lead?
Well, according to Wikipedia, it all ends with a big showdown between the Mickeys, the creepers, and the human colonists. And this is Bong Joon-ho we're talking about here. He's famous for putting social commentary and dark humor into his sci-fi.
So I'm really curious about the tone of the movie then. I mean, is this showdown going to be, like, super serious and action-packed, or is it more on the darkly comedic side?
Honestly, I think Bong Joon-ho is going to do both. Like, the whole premise itself is kind of funny in a dark way. A guy just constantly dying and being replaced by a clone. But at the same time, he always gets into those deeper issues, like the ethical stuff.
True. And don't forget, there's a romance subplot in all this, too. Yeah. Mickey falls for a security agent named Nasha. It really adds another dimension to the whole dying and being cloned thing.
It does. It really does. Imagine falling in love and knowing that your partner could just, like, be replaced with a copy of themselves at any moment. I mean, it makes you think about what a real connection even is.
You're so right. Okay, hold on. Let's switch gears for a sec and check out this official trailer. It's on the Warner Bros. YouTube channel. I just want to see what this world looks like, get a feel for it.
Yeah, good idea. The visuals can tell you a lot about a movie.
Okay, hitting play. Whoa, that cloning process looks intense. It's so clinical and kind of dehumanizing in a way.
Here's our first look at those creepers. I gotta say, they're definitely living up to the name. They're pretty unsettling.
Yeah, listen to this line. Mickey asks, "What's it feel like to die?" And then he answers himself, "Even on my 17th go-round, I hate dying." Man, that's some dark humor right there.
I know. It's funny, it's kind of sad, and it makes you think all at the same time.
I'm really liking this trailer. It's doing a great job of setting up the world, the characters, the tone, everything. And the comments on YouTube are so positive. People are really excited about this one.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of buzz. Bong Joon-ho is really good at making films that stay with you. I'm not surprised that everyone's eager to see what he's done.
So we've got the premise, the plot details, even some of the visuals, but I'm wondering, what's Bong Joon-ho trying to say here? What are the big ideas he's exploring?
Oh, that's a great question. We'll get into that more as we keep going in this deep dive. But for now, I want to hear from you, the listener. What stands out to you so far? What about Mickey 17 is grabbing your attention? It's really clear that Mickey 17 is going to be one of those movies that makes you think. But before we get too far, I think we should probably explain what an expendable actually is.
Yeah.
For anyone listening who maybe isn't super familiar with this kind of sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes I forget that not everyone is as obsessed with sci-fi as we are.
Right. So basically, an expendable is like a cloned worker. They're made for these dangerous missions. The ones that are really likely to get you killed, and every time they die, their memories are just like downloaded into a new body.
It's like a built-in insurance policy, but with some really heavy philosophical questions attached to it.
Exactly. And when we talk about multiples in this movie, what we're talking about is when you have more than one clone of a particular expendable, it seems like that's really frowned upon in the world of the film, which makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, it would totally mess things up if you suddenly had two identical people with the same memories. It'd be so chaotic.
And dangerous, too, especially for the people in charge. Or just imagine how that would change, like, power dynamics if workers could basically be immortal.
That's a good point. Speaking of power dynamics, I was thinking about the ship's leader that they mentioned in the Wikipedia article. They seem really, really focused on getting rid of multiples. Makes you wonder what their motivation is.
Yeah, could be about control, Like having two Mickeys around could threaten their authority. Disrupt the order on the ship, or maybe they're actually worried about the clones themselves.
Oh, you mean like they think having multiple clones would be bad for them, like psychologically or something?
It's possible, yeah. Maybe they think it would like mess with their sense of self.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or their individuality. But then again, we can't forget that Bong Joon-ho loves to use black comedy in his movies.
Oh, totally. I can definitely see that dark humor coming through, even with all the serious stuff.
Think about it. A guy keeps dying over and over again and then waking up as a clone with all his memories and having to do the same mission again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of hilarious in a twisted way.
And in the trailer, Mickey 18 is trying to kill Mickey 17, but then they're like, hey, let's just take turns dying. It's messed up, but it's also really funny.
I know. Bong Joon-ho is so good at finding the funny side of these really dark situations. It's not just like silly humor. He's using it to get us to think about these uncomfortable truths, but without being too heavy-handed about it.
It's like a coping mechanism, laughing in the face of existential dread. But I also think it helps to remind us that there's still a human element in all this crazy sci-fi stuff.
Totally agree. Oh, and speaking of the human element, we should talk about the romance subplot between Mickey and Nasha. I'm really curious to see how the relationship plays out, given Mickey's unusual situation.
For real. It's not your typical love story. I mean, they've got cloning, memory transfers, constant threat of death.
It makes you wonder what kind of bond they can even have with all that going on. Is it really love? Or just like a way to try to hold on to some kind of normalcy when everything else is so messed up?
And can you even really love someone knowing they might just be replaced with an exact copy? I don't know.
It's something the movie seems to be asking, and I really want to see how Bong Joon-ho answers it. But wait, hey, let's go back to the trailer for a minute. What did you think about how the movie looks, the visual style?
I thought it was really visually stunning, to be honest. Like the contrast between the spaceship all sleek and high tech and then the planet Niflheim all barren and desolate. It's really striking.
I agree. And those creepers, the way they look is so interesting, but also kind of creepy. They're not like, the typical aliens you see in movies. They almost seem like they're part of the planet itself,
Yeah, like they're part of nature. And it makes me think about that whole, nature versus technology thing that you see a lot in sci-fi. It's like those creepers are this wild, untamed force that's fighting back against humanity's attempts to control everything.
Ooh, that's a really good point. It ties in with some of the comments we saw on YouTube, too. People are already saying that this movie is going to be like some of Bong Joon-ho's other work. The ones that deal with social issues like class and the environment.
Oh, right, like Parasite. He's not afraid to make a statement.
Exactly. And with Mickey 17, it seems like he's using this sci-fi world to explore those same ideas, but on an even bigger scale.
Yeah, that makes sense. The whole idea of expendable workers who are just like cloned and then tossed aside, it definitely speaks to to bigger issues, like exploitation and how we treat people.
And the creepers with their demands for recompense. I mean, you could see them as representing all the people who are marginalized and exploited, fighting back against the powerful.
It's also layered and complex, which is why I love Bong Joon-ho's films.
I know, right? He makes you think. He challenges you, and he does it all with a sense of humor and a really amazing visual style.
Okay, so I think I'm really starting to get a sense of what he's doing with Mickey 17, but I bet there's so much more that we'll discover as we keep going with this deep dive.
Oh, definitely. We've only just scratched the surface. Yeah. But before we move on to our final thoughts, I'd love to hear from you, the listener. What are your first impressions of Mickey 17, based on what we've talked about so far? What really stands out to you?
Wow, we've really gone deep on Mickey 17, haven't we? I mean, we've talked about the plot, we've looked at the characters, we've even debated the whole ethics of cloning thing.
And we've seen how Bong Joon-ho takes, sci-fi, black comedy, right, and then throws in some social commentary to create something that really makes you think.
It's definitely not just your typical, dumb action movie. There's a lot to unpack here.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's what makes it so interesting, right? It makes you engage with it on all these different levels. You're not just watching it. You're thinking about it. You're asking questions.
I was thinking about that change that Bong Joon-ho made to the main character, how he made Mickey simpler in the film than he was in the book. It makes me wonder if he did that on purpose, to make the audience focus more on the big picture stuff.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, maybe by making the main character a little less complicated, he's trying to shift the focus away from just one person's story and more towards the big issues, the societal stuff. You're saying, hey, this isn't just about one guy, it's about all of us.
Right. It's like Mickey is just a way for us to look at these bigger ideas. And honestly, those themes really hit home for me. The whole idea of expendable workers and what cloning technology could mean and people fighting to survive on this crazy planet. It all feels very, very relevant to the world today.
Oh, absolutely. Bong Joon-ho is really good at tapping into our anxieties.
Yeah.
And he uses these sci-fi stories to explore them in ways you wouldn't expect. He's not afraid to make us look at the ugly parts of ourselves,
Yeah, but he always does it with that touch of dark humor, which I think makes it even more powerful.
That's true. That humor lets us, breathe a little bit, deal with the serious stuff without getting completely overwhelmed. And it also helps us to connect with the characters even when they're dealing with these crazy situations.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. Mickey dies over and over, wakes up as a clone, has to do the same thing again. It's kind of a nightmare. But the way Bong Joon-ho shows it, you kind of have to laugh at how absurd it all is.
And then that laugh makes you stop and think. It's like he's leading you down this path, and then bam, he pulls back the curtain, and you see the real meaning behind it all.
He's a genius, I swear. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We've talked about the story, the themes, we even broke down the trailer.
And we've thought about, how the film might affect people and the questions it might make them ask.
But at the end of the day, watching a movie is a really personal thing. Everyone who sees it is going to bring their own, thoughts and feelings to it.
And that's what makes movies so powerful. It's like this shared experience that can make us think and talk about things in different ways.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with this.
Oh?
What are you most excited to see in Mickey 17? What questions do you have?
And maybe even more importantly, how do you think this film will connect with your own life, your own experiences?
Because good stories, like Mickey 17, they stay with you. They challenge you. They make you see things differently, and they make you want to go out and experience the world in a new way.
Hopefully this deep dive has given you a good foundation to really enjoy Bong Joon-ho's latest film.
Yeah.
So go out there and see Mickey 17 for yourselves.